Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to the Hurricane edition of Premarket Info.
The futures are holding up quite well considering all the damage that we're seeing on the TV. They bottomed overnight at 1393. We are now trading almost flat at 1405. So for two overnight sessions in a row, we have found support in the mid 1390s. The stocks are scheduled to reopen tomorrow morning. We're going to talk about all your impacted issues: insurance companies, reinsurers, the airlines, the home improvement, the generator makers, the grocers. That's all coming up right now. But Joel, these futures, they're holding up pretty good.
Yeah, we were having a little debate before we went on the air here. There are three different overnight trading sessions here, and if you look at it as three true sessions, we made a triple bottom here right in that 1390 area. It's just unbelievable. That level is just holding its support even under these dire circumstances.
Yeah, we talked about this level back here in August and September. We kept finding support in the mid 1390s. We eventually broke out of there and then took off. Well, lo and behold, we're right back here in the mid 1390s, probably pulled down by the hurricane, and we're finding support there again. So you can't argue with technical support. This whole 1390 area is looking very strong and holding up, even though the hurricane did some significant damage.
Yeah, you did have them peppering it. I was following the futures on Sunday night, and they did have it, immediately out of the gate on Sunday when there was, more uncertainty. They were peppering it, got it down there near the low, had some pop back up when they closed it at the 9:15 on Monday, and then they peppered it again last night. I think when there was still uncertainty what the end results were going to be of the hurricane, and then. Basically, since a little after midnight here, with the storm subsiding, they started bidding up the futures.
A lot of your insurance companies will probably have some volatility, but some of these were very weak coming into the hurricane news. Take a look at Allstate. That was down 2 points in the last basically three sessions. So you wonder how much of this is already priced in here, where you had a lot of people probably anticipating, I want to be short these stocks going into the hurricane. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of traders were short going into Friday. So don't just think that they're going to come in here. This wasn't like an earthquake on some unexpected event. This was an anticipated event. So some of these traders are already positioned for the disaster, and don't be surprised if if the market tries to actually punish some of those participants that were gambling that the hurricane's going to really do some substantial damage and all these insurance companies are going to get rocked. I just don't see it happening. I wouldn't be surprised if you actually seen some of the insurance companies rally.
Yeah, well, especially looking at a few of these stocks just coming off an all-time high, like Travelers here, filled the gap from the earnings, came down, had a week, 3 or 4 days. What's always important in looking in these stocks is really the first 10, 15 minutes of trading. Sometimes the shorts will hopefully look for that point and a half drop or whatever, and if it's not there immediately, they'll make some big moves off the open. But I'd be keeping an eye on Friday's low in Travelers of 71.13 is a good support point. Allstate has come down and found major support just under the $40 level, call it 39.81. And Chubb, same pattern, a sell-off, pretty good sell-off here, 4 points off the high. We'll keep an eye on Friday's low at 77.74.
Yeah, everybody was really nervous on these stocks, obviously, to hold them into this hurricane, and they sold them off. So I think a lot of it's already priced in. Even AIG, I know they've got other businesses as well, but AIG held up well. Look at the quadruple bottom we've got going on AIG there, Joel. That needs to hold. Obviously, we start breaking down below there, it could get ugly, but as long as it holds above that whole 34.50 area where it's bottomed 4 days in a row, you've got to probably play it still from the long side, which is counterintuitive. I know you're going to have a lot of people coming in saying, I can see the damage on the TV. These insurance companies are going to be in trouble. Well, that's what the insurance business is. Sometimes you have events that you're going to have to pay for, and that's just the way it goes. But looking at the charts here, we'll have to see what happens when the stocks actually do reopen. But just thinking from a technical perspective, a lot of this might already be priced in. Some of the insurance companies that do get forgotten is the reinsurers, and those ones obviously are directly impacted as well. Take a look at stock RE, which is Everest Re Group. That stock actually closed, and I don't know why it would do this, but on Friday closed near the highs of the near its all-time highs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, the all-time high in RE is 110.70. Or excuse me, it did surpass
Yeah,
that.
it did.
Excuse me. No, the all-time high is at 115.86.
It's right
I
there.
remember.
Yeah, it's
I
close
remember.
to it.
I remember covering a short there back in October of
You got
'07.
to go back a
But
few
yeah, that
years.
it did have a strong last 2 days, bumping up major resistance at that 114.60 level, and it hit 42 on Friday, many sessions ago.
Yeah, and then there's a few other ones. PRE is another one. It closed strong as well. Kind of made a double top if you go from Thursday's and Friday's close in the whole 82.31 area. So I'd keep an eye on that too. But interesting that these reinsurers are actually rallying into the storm.
Yep. PRE has found some major resistance at 83.39. Stopped a little shy of that on Friday and Thursday, double top around the 82.30 level. So you're right. These stocks have many of them are trading at very high levels. Maybe get a little bit more of a dip off the open off these because they are at such high ranges. But basically, what you're trying to say is these reinsurers, like the insurers, can lay off on the reinsurers, but the reinsurers, who can they lay off on?
Yeah, but I just don't understand why they weren't weaker going into the storm. I think everybody was focused so much on the Allstates and the Travelers, maybe they just forgot about these ones. Check out the top on AHL too. There's another double top in one of another reinsurer, Aspen Insurance Holdings. 33.70 was the top on the Thursday, 33.60 the top on the Friday, and then it peeled back quite a bit off those highs, closing at 32.81.
Yeah, perhaps some people have like a funky spread going on here.
Long the reinsurers, short the actual insurers. Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else you could
Yeah, they're
explain.
strong. They were strong going in. ENH one more. I'll just highlight. It actually started to break down. So it was the only one out of those four that actually had a bad day on Friday, where it opened right at the high of 42.39, closed weak near the lows 41.55, and that one is the only one that actually looks broken.
Yeah, and just another thing about these stocks, just looking at these are low volume
Oh
stocks.
yeah, these things can be
So
volatile.
that might be less availability of short interest, stocks to
True.
short and whatnot. So that might be one factor. But these things are going to have some wicked ranges. Just one final note on that Everest regroup. You had two lows around the 112.09, 112.50 level, and two highs up on the upside around 114.50. So I'd be willing to play a breakout either way on those stocks.
Looking at some other stocks that could be impacted, obviously Home Depot and Lowe's. I mean, everybody's got to come in and probably fix whatever's broken, so you got to go to the home improvement retailers. Both of those stocks actually were breaking down ahead of the news. So there's a trade-off there. Obviously, the stocks can be impacted, but they're going in there and they're buying generators and stuff. There's a lot of reasons to look at these stocks as potential plays in a hurricane event.
Yeah, well, it's. I think so it might have a minimal impact here. I mean, it is a couple days of shopping, so
Yeah,
people are doing that, and then also since these companies have just reported earnings, whatever actual increase they have is not going to show up until the next quarter. So it's a little bit more of a stretch. I think these stocks have had great runs and had a little bit of pullback. You got major support in the Home Depot area at 59.61, and looks like a lot of resistance developing around that 62 area in the depot.
looking at a couple airline stocks because obviously we had a few airline cancellations. Delta, DAL, that has actually been weak going into it. So again, you wonder how much of this is priced in. And just another one, UAL, which is United, that was very weak going into the hurricane. Obviously sold out for 3 straight days. So you wonder how much of this is priced in on these airlines.
Looking at the UAL, the major support in that stock at the $19 level, and
18's
Delta Air.
huge if you ever got down there. That 18's enormous if you look back to August and September.
right? And then Delta's been finding a home at the 950 area. Hit it on Thursday and Friday at 949, 955. The thing about these airlines is they're not going to be able to recoup the money they lost from those flights.
No, it's
I
gone.
mean, they're actually, we're reshuffling people, and my sister's stranded out in Arizona. People are gonna, eventually, get home, but basically, there was a lot of trips canceled that are not going to be rebooked, and that, the revenue loss from the airlines is gone. It's not going to be able to be recouped.
Some other stocks that could benefit would be some of your grocers, but you could look at a big one like Costco. We've seen the commercials, or we've seen that on the news there, where you've got grocery stores basically empty. Certain ones. I mean, Costco was strong going into it. See how I just gonna keep reiterating this theme that you had expected, that your grocers would maybe be strong. Costco closed strong as well. It had a 4-day run up into the hurricane. This was an expected event. So again, how much of this is already priced in?
Well, Costco's had a nice run, and actually, they had some stellar earnings and went
Broke
up and hit
out
one.
and killed them all.
104.43. It said, "Oh, this thing's 100. It's going to 200," and then they
Boom.
they flushed everybody out, and actually got it down to 93.84 and had another bottom at 94.13. So call major support there, 94 even. But yeah, this one did recover. It's what I think happened, Dennis, is I think that the high frequency traders did specific algorithms on stocks were going to be affected by the hurricane, and they actually were out there making markets in these stocks ahead of it.
I think so. Well, I think you've definitely got some participants that are positioned long Costco and short the airlines and short the insurance companies just from the look at the charts. Heinz is an interesting one, looking at your canned goods, obviously, and what these grocers are selling, because you almost have the last 3 or 4 days very similar ranges. If you get lows in the 56.80 area, and then it's got highs in the whole 57.50 area. So interesting chart on Heinz there.
And, this stock has just been just a machine here since 2009. Once again, I think you'll have similar to the Costco and the Home Depot. You'll have probably a surge of 2-3 days of selling of their goods, which will be reflected in the earnings. Couple months down the line, but months down the line.
Yeah.
But this stock, I mean, I don't want to say it, but it just doesn't go down.
Well, it's such a low beta stock. People are in this as a conservative issue. It's got a decent dividend, so they're in it for other reasons. The beta is just so low. I don't see it being hugely impacted either. Kroger closed strong as well. There's a stock that obviously broke out in mid-October, has kind of just formed, a little bit of consolidation here. Almost looks like it's ready to break out again, but closing very strong. So again, there's this theme that it looks like people were long these grocers going into the event.
We had this $26 levels huge in Kroger. It's hit it. It hit it back in July of this year. The recent run in the stock has only taken it up to the mid 25 handle. 25.41 was Friday's high, but boy, this thing really looks like it's migrating towards 26.
A few other ones. Let's talk about pure plays like your generator makers. Here's GNRC, which they actually do make generators. And look at the chart, Joe. Look at it again. How much of this is priced in, man? This thing had a 4-day run going into this hurricane event. 28.67 is where it topped out on Friday, closing at 28.33. But you look at these, and it's scary to come in here and say, oh, I'm going to buy this thing Wednesday because they're going to make a lot of money. People were doing that 3 days ago. So you're a little late to the game if you're coming in thinking, oh, I'm going to come in here and buy these things at the open and make money. I think it's all, it's kind of like a buy on rumor, sell on news potential thing happening here.
Going back to September 28th, that had a nice gap up. Can't remember. I don't really follow the news.
Yeah, it's a smaller company.
Yeah, Generac Holdings that much, but it looks like your meteorologist started getting on the stock in October at 23, and then they piled in at 25 here. So here's a stock that if you're long it and playing it for this kind of event, and you get another 50-cent pop off the open. It'll be also interesting to see how these stocks actually trade in the pre-market. I think the pre-market activity in these stocks. This stock has not been around that long. It's also basically a stock trade by appointment only. Trades on one day last week. It traded under 200,000 shares.
Yeah.
So, It's under 2 million. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
Still
keep.
thinner than your other stocks. Briggs and Stratton too, BGG closed strong on Friday as well. Started to kind of move up. Lower beta stock, obviously they make the motors, most of your lawnmowers and stuff, but they do make the motors and your generators as well. So that's why the stock was probably strong on Friday. Again, traders anticipating that people are going to be coming out and buying generators, and they were bidding up Briggs and Stratton on Friday.
Yeah, this stock has certainly had a little bit of a pop over the last 3 or 4 days on this event. You have some spotty highs at 1956, then you have another one at 1977, but $20 is the level on this stock here. It's really got up there a few times. Really since the middle of 2011 is failed. So a move above 20 on this one, I don't think I'd stand in the way of it.
I drew a little trend line though from those 1, 2, 3 tops from mid-September, early
Yeah,
October, and mid-October, and I think the top of that trend line is around the 1950 area. So I think if you know this thing, actually it's around the 1950 area.
a little bit
So
lower than that, isn't it?
no, I just
Yeah, I
drew it and
guess.
it says 1945 on my little
Yeah, you're
NeoVest
getting a little
software there.
getting a
So
little crazy with your
I
drawing.
know we're
That's
trying to
okay.
just. You can tell what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a lot of this stuff is priced in. I'm always trying to go against the herd. I think the majority of your participants be coming in. I want to own Briggs and Stratton off the bat because that's going. They're making generators, and I see how many of those things are going out the door. And I think these traders are late to the game. I think the play is to fade these traders, to fade what you would counterintuitively think. That's my overall thoughts here, and the market seems to be doing the same thing because it's at 1406 here. I would not be the least bit surprised if we see this market when it opens tomorrow if it actually starts to rally.
Okay, well, it should be interesting to watch the pre-market activity tomorrow and these stocks just mentioned, and we'll also update you on all the old favorites, Apple, Google, and the bunch. And hope everyone on the East Coast has survived okay, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.